Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's podcast of The Conscious CEO. My name's Maria Van Buklis, and today we'll be talking about how to unlock your leadership code in being able to set yourself up for success. Now, you already know what your code is, right? However, you may have forgotten it. And I want you to remember a time where you felt so successful in business, in life, in work, in health, and remember that time and remember that you actually nailed it. And it actually took you by surprise as to how well you did it. And I want you to remember what that felt like. Really feel what that felt like and what were the conversations that you were having with yourself at that time when you actually executed something really successfully that blew you away. So the combination of pictures, feelings, and sounds is your own unique code to success. I'm going to repeat that. So the combination of your pictures, your feelings, and sounds is your own unique code to success. And I just want to share a bit about myself. I moved from having a business as a naturopath to going and having a big training business company that helps people. I train people in NLP, and I also do business coaching. And what happened in between that time was my strategy for success in owning, a clinical practice as a naturopath was very different to the way I run my business now. And it slowly evolved because I got in contact in contact with my own self and really understanding what it took to unlock that secret code to success. But the thing is that I had all these limiting beliefs, values, and redundant strategies that I was running that were preventing me from actually creating the success. So my success code was originally there. And once I did the work in really connecting and unlocking all the redundant and unlimiting patterns and beliefs, I was able to really bring to the surface of what my success code is by taking away all those other layers and then executing on a different mindset, on a different strategy. So have you ever thought about how you think? And when you do so, what is the process of your thinking? Because in your code, your success code, you're actually running what you're thinking. It's all about the thinking, and the thinking is in the thinking. It's pretty interesting. And all you have to do is become really conscious of your thinking as to the quality of your thoughts and the questions that you ask yourself every single day. So let me ask you this. Where do you want to be in 12 months? Where do you want to be in 5 years? Where do you want to be in 10 years' time? Where will you be? And who will you be with? And what will you be doing? Now, if you came to an answer where you were super lucid clear, crystal clear in knowing exactly what that vision is, where you would be, and you had that certainty and that conviction that you knew exactly where you'd be, the thing is that 99% of people are actually still trying to figure this out. They're still not clear in where they will be in 12 months, 5 years, 10 years' time. They're still trying to figure it out. And as a generalization, most people are pretty vague. They just go through life, or they may actually be living someone else's dream. And this is so common in today's society. I've seen this so much. And you have to become really conscious to understand, to know how to break away from living someone else's dream. I'll get into this a bit later. So the difference between winning and losing in life is actually anticipating results, because when you're laser focused on what you want and where you're heading, you're actually anticipating what those results will be, rather than coming from a reactive place as to what life presents to you in situations that you may come across. So did you know that Muhammad Ali reacted to every move? He anticipated every move that his opponent was actually going to come at with him, because he had worked so much in understanding all the patterns and the behaviors, how the other person would act. So he would study his opponent before he'd actually get in the ring. He would study how they would move, how they would respond, if they were reactive, if they were on the offense or the defense. And he did this before he actually stepped into the ring, to be able to really anticipate what that other opponent's moves will be. And that's what set him apart in becoming a champion. You know, he always went into the ring with a game plan. He was focused and he believed that it was already done. It was already done. He was already the champion before he even stepped into the ring. That's how we need to see life, in terms of where we are and where we want to be. And, you know, and the same goes with business. You have to have a clear plan and a conscious way of thinking in order to allow you to be a confident leader that leads with clarity and thought. And you might find people in business who, you know, constantly lose disagreements. They tend to, you know, lose negotiations. They get setbacks on deals. They crack under pressure, and they're constantly reacting to whatever comes their way. And you might find these people might just go with the flow in their actual role, and you might find them another 5, 10, even 15 years still in that same role, still in that same company, still with those same you know, thinking, just drifting to wherever they end up. They have no clear direction. And I've seen this in huge organizations where, you know, managers have been there for, you know, 7, 10, 12 years, and they're just going with emotions. They don't have real clarity, because I always ask them, what's your vision? What's your why? Why are you here? And what's your bigger purpose? And they just dumbfounded, because they haven't really thought about these things on a deeper level. They're just going with the motions of the role, the job, and essentially just with life. So world-class leaders take control of their life. They take control of their life. And that's not just in business, but in all areas of life. And they do this with clarity, they do this with certainty, and they do this with complete conviction in knowing who they are and where they're wanting to be. So the quality of your life is like the software of your mind. And if you've ever had a phone, most of us have smartphones. And when you bought your phone, it was running real smoothly. It was fast, efficient, and, you know, all the time it just, there was no problems at all. And all of a sudden, over time, maybe a year or 2 years, however long, it starts to slow down. It starts to get a bit glitchy or even crash. And we've all experienced this, where, you know, the phone will just crash, it'll just switch off, and then it'll come up and say that it needs a software update for it to run smoothly. And the reason why it does this, it reboots it to be able to allow a new process for things to move much more efficiently. And the same thing goes with your mind. You simply just need to update and reboot your thinking for today's world, for your world and today's world of success. So if you're like an old baby boomer, where you've come from a time where, you know, it was the industrial age, and during that time there was a different way of thinking, and now we've moved, you know, into the 21st century, where we've got more of the information age in the last, you know, 20 years. So people from that time, if they haven't actually rebooted their mindset, their thinking, they're still stuck in that old way of thinking, that old software, where things start to be, you know, it starts to be a bit glitchy. There's more obstacles, there's more problems. But if you are coming from a place where you are constantly updating your software, your mind, you will find that you will achieve the best results as a leader in business, but in every area of life. And it's simply that. And all you have to do is improve your mind to improve the quality of your life, and to be happier, and to be happier in a way that it means to you. So now let me put things into perspective, right? Now, listen carefully. The quality of your life is based on the quality of your emotions. I'm going to repeat that. the quality of your life is based on your emotions. And if you're experiencing love, happiness, peace, joy, and pleasure, and all those great emotions, you would have had a wonderful life. On the flip side, if you're a person who's feeling unhappy, depressed, stressed, feeling shame, rejection, lack of confidence, the quality of your experience is based on those emotions. So your quality of your life may not be as fulfilling, potentially. So the quality of your life comes down to the quality of your emotions and essentially your thought patterns. And what influences the quality of your thoughts and emotions is, one, the quality of your relationships, the quality of your beliefs, and the quality of the questions that you ask yourself. Really important. So if you could simply update your own software to think like top leaders and CEOs in this world day and age, the quality of your business, the quality of your life, even your health will improve dramatically. And you will notice that that will cause a ripple effect in every other area of life, even in relationships. So to master your reality, you have to master the inner game. And it all starts with you. There's no one else that can actually create this or change this. It all starts with you. So be prepared for change. And if you want to see the changes in your life, in your business, in your relationships, in your health, so then what you have to do right now is condition your inner mind. And there's many ways that you can do that. And the best way to do that, to accelerate that, to achieve results now, is to shift your identity. And I spoke about shifting your identity previously in one of the last episodes in the podcast. And you need to shift your identity to a thinking of winning. In order to win, essentially, in business, in life, in relationships, in money, whatever it might be. So winners have confidence. They are confident. And they already see things as done. And they always expect to win. So you'd want to have those sort of qualities in your identity to be able to attract and build upon those in taking action and making decisions based on those thought processes. So the key for people that are struggling, this is due to a lack of self-confidence. And lack of self-confidence comes all back down to self-belief and self-worth. Now, have you ever seen a business owner who had no idea what they're doing, but they approached everything with extreme confidence? Grant Cardone is a really great example for that. I've listened to a lot of his podcasts and his learnings, and what he was saying is that he took jobs on that he had no idea how to execute on the particular project that he was taking on, but he was taking it on, and he always said that he would take it on and figure it out later. And that is the mindset of winners, where they're not afraid to take on something that they don't know the how, but they know that they will figure it out in a later point. So we all hear this thing called positive thinking. Positive thinking, I believe it's this big delusion where, if you just think positive, then that's the answer to having a happy life. But it's actually much more on a deeper level. You actually have to utilize tactical strategies in order to divert off, to utilize positive thinking. If you're thinking positive and you're still behaving, your default behaviors are in a way that are, sabotaging or creating some sort of unhappiness, yes, it will shift you, but essentially there's no congruency between the mind and also what you're doing. So you will always find that you'll come to a standstill even though you think positive. So there has to be congruency with what's going on in your mind and what your actions are. So you have to steer a boat that goes straight. So the person that's actually steering the boat needs to be able to be in charge of the boat, whereas, You can't pretend that it's a sunny day if it's actually in the middle of a storm, if the person that's driving the boat. You actually have to get real with yourself and be realistic. If things are not great and you're trying to think positive, fix what's not great in order to create a holistic, positive, approach, both internal and internal. So take action. So there's no point in thinking about thinking if you just simply have an expectation that the results will occur. I have seen so many times where, I've been a culprit of this, where I've done all the inner work, but I'm not taking enough action, and I'm wondering why I'm actually not getting the results that I need to get. And this is the reason why, is because 90% of what we do, what we think, has to do with our thought processes, and 10% is actually the action and the behavior that we actually do. So you can't just think about thinking. You actually have to take action on what you need to do. Taking action is where the juice is, and nobody makes it successful until they put the hours in to win. And there's no entrepreneur, business owner, successful business owner out there that hasn't put the hours in. You've got to put the action in. And the concept of working harder, not smarter, not harder, is right to a point, but to a point where you can't just make less time so you don't have to work as hard. I think you need a bit of both. You need to be able to work harder and smarter, but also smarter and harder, if that makes sense. So essentially, you just have to do both. You've got to put your foot on the gas and go 10 steps ahead in order to be able to, if someone else is only just working smarter and harder and they're not doing both, they're actually 10 steps behind. So you've got to make sure that you've got both when taking action. So let's talk about change. So change is only a measure of how we act and how we feel. And you have to believe that it's possible for you to be who you want to be. So there has to be self-belief. And the life that you have right now is simply what you believe that you deserve to have, right? Which might be a bit of a shock to you, but it's the actual reality of it. So the one thing that prevents you from going ahead in success is your own limitations, and the way you think about how much you're worth and what you deserve. So that determines the quality of your life. And the patterns of your belief are the thinking which results to what you have right now. So if you want to win in your business, you have to be confident in yourself. You have to be confident in your beliefs, your thoughts, and also you want to be able to have that self-belief to have great relationships. And to do this, we always follow up with action. Action, action, action. What you've got to believe is you've got to believe that it's possible. It's possible for you to achieve whatever it is that you're wanting to achieve. So thinking about a time where you were really successful, right? And I want you to think about that time that you were really successful. What did it feel like? What did it sound like? Who was there? What taste did you have in your mouth? What were you saying to yourself? And think about that. Were you in a place where you were coming from complete certainty, self-belief, and self-confidence, or were you holding back because you were worried about certain things, or you had certain fears or shame or judgment, whatever it might be? Because as soon as we drop into a place where we take on these, fears and limitations, it causes us to go into this thing called learnt helplessness, right? Learnt helplessness. And this is where people can take control of their life, and not you. Other people take control of your life, and has a negative result on your beliefs. So you are seeking external validation in order for them to control your happiness. So no one controls your life. No one controls your thoughts, your feelings, or even the results that you might have in any situation in life. And this is what we call victim thinking. You want to move away from out of victim thinking, because this is where you are kept thinking small and you do not win. You don't win with victim thinking. So life happens for you, not to you. In every situation that you come into your life is a mirror of you overcoming adversity. And it isn't fluff. It's actually a real fact. Everything that happens in our life is a reflection of what is not resolved within us. So choose a life that moves forward, that motivates you in a way that brings you happiness and also brings you growth and expansion and results. That's what you want, and that's what successful people look for. That's what successful people have in their success code. So you're designed to stay safe, right? And if you want to grow, you have to find a way to get off course. So the majority of people in today's society will follow one way, and that's the way of, going to school, going to uni, getting a 9-to-5 job, working most of your life, retiring for, then having few years to enjoy life and die. That's what most people do. So you as a leader, as in your success code, is to get off course and then find your way back onto a path that actually creates the results and the success for you. That's part of your journey. You may deviate sometimes. You may, stop for a period of time, but that's okay. As long as you're constantly moving, growing, and expanding, and you're creating results of progression, that's what you need to learn. That's what you utilize to move forward. So imagine a life being certain and predictable. So if we have this, wouldn't it be really boring to know what's coming, to know that it's the same routine every day? And there's people that live this already. So try and think about this as a test, right? So if you wake up every morning and you do the same thing every day, and you see the same people every day, you eat the same thing every day, and you have the same conversations every day, how fulfilling would that be? Wouldn't be very fulfilling at all. So being consciously aware in terms of where you are sitting back in your comfort zone and not allowing yourself to expand and grow will bring to your awareness where you actually need to be able to shift things within your own self and your identity to move out of that, to go onto your own course, to pave your own life. So the quality of your life is in direct proportion to the amount of uncertainty you can handle at one time. So that's pretty scary for some. Knowing that, living in uncertainty is not something where most people are actually comfortable. But however, in saying that, every successful entrepreneur and business leader thrives on uncertainty. They find certainty in uncertainty, because in order to move forward and create, vision and make an impact, we need to be able to move through uncertainty in a way that we love it, we embody it, you enjoy it. So certainty and predictability are completely boring. We don't want those in our lives if you are wanting to be a successful leader, a CEO or a business leader. And I want you to think about a time you had experienced something spontaneous or an achievement that you may have had. And, I'll give you an example. So I ride adventure bikes, so it's motorbikes, and I do a lot of big travels. I've done a huge travel across Australia by myself on my adventure bike, and I was camping all along, across Australia. And this was a massive achievement for me, because I'd never done something like this before. I'd never, experienced the ruggedness of Australia, especially by myself. And I had to learn how to ride my bike off on dirt roads to build that skill set. So I had to have that certainty and belief within myself to be able to go out there and do it on my own. But the thing was, the one thing that I thrived on, but it was also scary at the same time, was the uncertainty of not knowing what was going to happen each day that I was on that bike. And I did this trip over a month, and I was on the road for just over 2.5 weeks. So every day I woke up not knowing who I would meet, where I would sleep, what I would eat at times, and also what the conditions of the roads were. So I had to learn how to sit in uncertainty and how to thrive in it, and how to enjoy it and not allow it to create any sort of negative attachment to it, because that's when I knew that I would be starting to bring in these uncertainty these negative situations on this trip. So I moved through that, and I was in a place where I actually really enjoyed the uncertainty, and I was able to, make my trip every day. I knew exactly what I needed to do, and I wasn't freaking out, with the things that were happening or the people that I was meeting. So another example of this might be a business meeting. So you might have a meeting every week with your team, and you're not sure what someone will bring to the table in terms of what questions they might have, what problems they might have, or even complaints that they would have in order for you to have to deal with it. So that's a sense of uncertainty. You're not knowing what's next. You might also have, with a project that you're working on, in terms of having a lot of people working on the project, whether or not they're pulling their weight and they're actually completing their areas. So if you're in charge, if you're leading a team, there's a lot of uncertainty, and you need to enjoy it and love it. So the happiest people I know are actually the people that are seeking uncertainty in situations, and they are like really uncomfortable. And these are the successful people that I know, because they love and they thrive in uncertainty. So get comfortable in the uncomfortable. That's the key. Get comfortable in the uncomfortable. Okay, so the next thing is rejection. So this is really important, really unlocking your success code. So rejection is the avoidance to win. And I've seen this a lot, especially in new business owners who are afraid to get out there, get visible, or even jump on sales calls and experience this constant rejection. And what this does, it pushes them away from actually winning. It's the perception of a negative event towards you, when in fact, it should bring in excitement. It should bring fun, because it's the uncertainty of what this person or what this project will bring to you. So every time when I train sales teams and I tell them, you've got to make the calls, and when you get the no's, when you get the rejections, you celebrate every time you get a no. Every time someone says to you no, or they hang up, or whatever they may do, because it means you can just move on and go to the next one that actually does want help. So thrive when people actually reject you, in order to have ecstatic amounts of happiness and gratitude when someone actually says the yes. That's the key. So the strong connection to learned helplessness is here, right? So when we're seeking validation and we're playing the victim, where this is a strong connection when we're feeding off the rejection of other people. And this is actually dictating how you're going to be, how you're going to achieve your results, how you're going to essentially your happiness. So rejection is actually progress, and progress is happiness. So remember that. Rejection is progress, and progress is happiness. And like I said to you with the example before about the business meeting, if you put forward an idea and you're in a table of a round table with a group of CEOs or whoever it might be, and your idea gets rejected, it's okay, because all you have to do is just go away, and you have to just rethink it, come back with a more refined idea, and present that. So rejection is progress. It just means that you need to go away and you need to perfect something a bit better, or tweak it a little bit more in order to achieve the results that you need to achieve. So it actually creates opportunity for you to improve. And this is where you actually, when you're test and measuring things within your business or within your team to see where things are going right or wrong, what people are actually within there that are not actually getting the results because they're being rejected by prospects or by clients or customers or even other companies if they're doing B2B kind of dealerships. So it gives you an opportunity to improve what you need to improve on. So the way that you react is by how you do it, like what you do. So if you're thinking about something and you're playing out, you're acting out what it is, it's actually the thought process that you're creating within your own mind that's causing you to play this out. And when you react the way you do, when you do this, you're actually becoming dependent on what other people might think, right? If you are seeking out validation, learnt helplessness and rejection, and you're constantly getting down and bombarded by this, you're actually creating a dependency on what other people might think. And if this is something that has come up for you, definitely make a note of it, because this is what holds back majority of people. Like 90% of people are dominated by, their thoughts of what other people might think. And this is a huge limiting belief in, all business owners that I've worked with, CEOs, leaders, whoever it might be. They're so worried about what other people might think. And thinking about what other people are thinking, it's not about you. They're not thinking about you. You're thinking about what you're thinking about them. That's what it is. It has nothing to do with them. It only has to do with what you're thinking about them. That you're thinking about yourself. So remember, it's not about them. It's about you. And always split the thinking in being able to create a much more empowering state. So constantly seeking approvals and validations, which will actually lead to unhappiness and setbacks. So be mindful of this. And most people live here in the now, in today's society. Rather than looking for, within yourself, people are always looking outside themselves and seeking approval. And I've seen this a lot when there's a team and there's a manager who's managing a team, and there's one particular person in that team that goes above and beyond more than what their role is expected, they get really disheartened when there's no validation by the manager for the extra work that they've actually been given. So, this doesn't create a whole lot of happiness within you. So remember, understand, what is your self-worth? Remember, look within yourself in terms of having that self-belief within yourself. And don't look outside of you in order to fulfill that. So if you're dominated by rejection with your thoughts and emotions, it simply means you're not taking control of your emotions, your thoughts, and your actions. And you're reacting all the time rather than anticipating what's happening. And remember, the most successful people that run their success code always anticipate rather than react to, events that may be coming their way. So let me tell you a bit about what other people might think, right? So in sales, this is quite common, as I said to you a lot before with business owners. In sales, you will get rejected a lot. And you will get no's. You will get people that will just hang up on you. You will get people that are quite rude. You'll get all kinds of people that will reject you in different ways. And the key is to simply not give them all your power, because when you do, you become worried about what other people might think, what they think, what other people might think within your team, your work, if you're your own business owner, what your family might think. And You might not even take an opportunity to, that may be presented to you. For example, if you are running your business and you're worried about, the rejection in sales, this might ripple into, being asked to do a speaking engagement where you will say no, or you will repel it just because you're worried about what other people might think. So being worried about rejection can consume you, and it's, you're giving it total control for others to be able to control your life in a significant way. And by doing this, you're giving away your personal power. So the key to rejection is taking control of your life and claiming your personal power. And if you are giving it away, if you are giving your personal power away and you're letting other people control you, you're actually setting yourself up for a formula of losing. And we don't want that. We want successful business leaders and CEOs. So let's look at confidence, right? All business leaders and CEOs are actually present real confidently. They know who they are. They know what they think, how they think. They're really connected with themselves. They don't worry about what other people might think about them, because it's always to do about, themselves. They're their own competition. And, people who lack confidence, they're always worried about what they might say, what they might do. They're always second guessing themselves. And this is what really holds people back, second guessing themselves. And the only time that they actually take action on what they want is when they actually get that external validation by someone that might be, nice, or even their family, whatever it might be. But ultimately, if you are a one-man show, if you're starting your own business, you may not have that external validation. So it can create a lot of confusion and lack of clarity. So be clear on if you are seeking validation and if that's driving your behaviors. Because business leaders always they're clear on where they're going. They're clear on their goals, their mission, their beliefs, and they have beliefs on their own terms. They don't live someone else's life. So if you're constantly seeking validation, you'll end up in this vicious cycle of emotional dependency. And I guarantee you, you will always end up unhappy. You'll always end up happy because you'll be seeking happiness outside of you in others, and it doesn't exist. Only you can create that. So if you're in business and you're emotionally dependent on getting approval from others, this will prevent you from prospecting or working hard in your business or making calls. And I guarantee you, this is not going to set you up for win. This is going to set you up to lose. And if you're worried about what other people might think about you, then you are holding yourself back in what your true potential could potentially be. So the next thing is the mind. So the mind can only receive what your mind can accept, right? And you will get what you're willing to tolerate. This is a great quote I heard, that, you will only get what you don't hate, you will tolerate. And that really, resonated with me, because a lot of people, there's a gray line between things that they don't tolerate, and yet sometimes it creeps into their lives, whether that be, not getting up early, procrastinating on things, scrolling, whatever it might be. And once those habits start to creep back in, then your standard starts to change, right? So what you get is what you're willing to tolerate. And if you're not setting standards that you won't accept whatever it is in your life, you will tolerate it. You will tolerate it because you are not hating what you don't want to have in your life. They're your standards. And this is why it's so important to visualize what you want, because your mind paints a picture, and your thoughts create this physical things. So whatever we see in our mind, we always manifest on the outside. And I know this is a bit, hocus pocus, but it's actually a known fact through quantum physics. So when you think about something, you actually actualize it by taking action. And and I've met people that have created so much success, and funnily enough, they think it's overrated because they don't understand the connection between visualization of the mind and the action and the results. And I've seen this in old legacy style of business thinking where, it's all to do with the do, and the how, rather than really understanding what the mind and the effect of the mind and the results of your thoughts and, thought patterns and behaviors and those sort of beliefs and values and those sort of things. So it actually, it's not hocus pocus, it's actually a known fact. So until we realize what's going on in our mind consciously, it will continuously run unconsciously. And your thoughts are like magnets. They attract things that that are in your life. They'll attract physical things into your life, and you'll start to create, people, places, and things that are a reflection of what's going on within your own mind. So for example, when you're going to say or create what is actually your hardwiring is your mind, sorry. So what you're going to say is you're actually hardwiring your mind, and it starts activating the thought processes which create the thinking in your life. So thinking is super powerful. It's so powerful because 90% of what we 90% of the action that we take is actually the effect of what we've created in the result of our, in our life. So that's huge. So understanding that what we think and what we do is closely connected. We can't just think, we have to do it, because 90% of the doing, right, is the result of how we think, which is funnily enough, because I believe that, it's all to do with the thinking and the inner work, and there's a smaller amount of the action. But you got to take massive action. So your mind will get what it accepts, right? And it'll continue to allow what you will tolerate. And what you don't hate, you will actually tolerate. So remember that. So you need to be able to understand what your mind will accept, because if you don't accept something, you need to be clear on that so as you don't tolerate it at all. If you are currently in a state of your life where you don't want to be, right, then stop allowing yourself to continue. Stop allowing yourself to continue with this state of life. So this goes back to your standards. What are your standards? Are you the only person allowing yourself to control it? Or is there someone else that's driving your bus, as I like to say, your bus of life? So if you're in business and you're, it's a small business and it's stagnant, it's plateaued, there's no growth, and you're wanting to, and you're the only person in there, right? And you're the only person that's allowing this to continue. The only person that can actually change those results, change those standards within yourself to create different results in your business is you. So if you are not achieving your targets in your position, or you're not making the profit that you're wanting, you're hoping, it's because either number one, a system's not working properly, or number two, your self-belief and your thought processes aren't congruently aligned to the action of what you need to do. So you're the only person that can change the perspective of what the results that you're actually achieving. So being a cause for every situation that you're in. So rather than being at the effect, and that goes back to the victim mentality. So being at effect is because that person did this has happened, I can't do this because that's happened, rather than being a cause and understanding what you need to do in changing your perspective, because you're the only person that can actually change the situation. And it's telling you that you're actually tolerating something that you don't want to tolerate. So reflect on that and really get clear on what it is that you don't want to tolerate. So our values and our beliefs are the drivers of our life. And They are the ones that control all the things that we like and all the things that we don't like. And sometimes in business, we have values that aren't actually uh, aligned to in achieving the results that we need to achieve in business. So I do a lot of this work with my clients, with business owners in organizations, to be able to do these things called values realignment, because when someone's operating from values that are not results driven, they're more about helping people, or a different way of thinking, they're not going to be able to make the numbers. And ultimately, if you're in business, you need to know your numbers, and you need to know how to hit your targets. So being clear on what your values and beliefs are, because they actually drive the results that happens in your life. So you have to shift your beliefs and values, and you simply ask yourself, are you someone who is going to be in a scarcity thinker or an abundance thinker? Are you going to focus on all things of what you don't have, what resources you don't have, what people you don't have, what systems you don't have? Or are you going to be an abundance thinker and think about all the things that you actually have in your life right now, that you are in abundance? Because no matter where we are in life, we have abundance. If you have a roof over your head, if you have food, if you have shelter, you have abundance. It's just perspective. And then you set what standards of abundance you want. So I believe we all have abundance in life, right? And it's all to do with taking off the layers of the junk in your trunk. And the junk in your trunk is all the redundant strategies, the limiting beliefs, the values that are not aligned, and that causes you you have to sift through the crap in order to realize it's actually there, because your success code is there. Sometimes we put so many different layers onto it. It's like mud. It's in there, but you've got to sift through all the mud and the rocks and all those things to be able to really get down to the gold nugget, which is the success code in, being able for you to be able to achieve results in your life. And that's where you create the impact. And if you are out there worrying about what other people might think, or not having the self-belief, this will cause you to think small. It will cause you to think scarce. And by doing that, it will limit you in the extent of actually how you can achieve results. So if you want to be successful in life, you need to be able to shed all your limiting beliefs. And, there's three kinds of people, right? There's three kinds. So those who have come from a line of successful people, you might have come from a family where they've been really successful entrepreneurs, business people, and you've come from a place where you had an abundance of resources, connections, and unconscious installments of beliefs, patterns from a really, really early age. And number two are those people who came from poverty. And, you can relate to these things. You can relate to the things that you don't want in your life, because it's created so much pain that you won't tolerate it anymore. So the advantage of actually being this kind of person coming from poverty is that you hate it. You completely hate it. You won't tolerate it. You don't want anything to do with it, because you know what it's like to be there. And number three is the person that comes from a generally okay, not so much success and not experienced poverty. And this is your middle class kind of people. This is actually the hardest place to be. It's not too painful, and you don't have great examples of greatness around you, and you don't have the resources. And, I came from a middle-class family, so I had to work in really digging deep in shedding all my limiting beliefs, specifically around things like wealth, success, and what other people might think. Because, like, my parents have had businesses and they've done okay, but I've never experienced poverty, and I've never experienced real greatness, real great leadership. So I've had to really work really hard in shedding that, and that's where most people are. And if you are, then you need to listen, because you have to work twice as hard to really shed and really get clear on what your limiting beliefs and decisions and values and those sort of things, in knowing how to move through. Because in order to move through, you need to be aware, consciously aware of where you're being held back. So, so you need to work double hard in becoming really clear in how to be not good, but great. To be great. And, you know, remember your beliefs and your values are what drive your life, what creates your life. So if they do not serve you at the moment, or if they do not serve you as to where you are, then they need to go. They need to change. You need to choose what beliefs you want. So let me tell you this. Your unconscious mind is part of your mind where it runs your day-to-day life, and it will prove, it'll prove you. It'll prove you to be correct all the time. And if you're constantly saying to yourself, I can't do this, I don't care, I don't have enough money, I'm not good enough, you've got fears, worries, rejection, and all that other stuff, your unconscious mind will drive it'll drive you to prove those things true. Pretty powerful. So the key is to becoming conscious as to what you're saying to yourself all the time. For example, your self-talk. So be mindful about what your self-talk is, because then you will start to create that from the unconscious mind. It'll go to work and, improving you, that it's right. So if you use the train, so if you train your unconscious mind, it'll be your best friend. So you've got to nurture it. It's like this little child where you've got to teach it. You've got to give it some love, and you've got to retrain it, essentially. So if you have a belief, I don't have money, your unconscious mind will actually go to work in making sure that you stay broke. So I've heard this time and time again where, and I've done a lot of work around this as well, where people go out and buy something and they may not have the money right then, but instead of saying to themselves, I don't have the money, or I don't have enough money, the question is, what do I need to do in order for me to create the money so I can have this right now? That's abundance thinking. And if you think about, I don't have enough money, it'll actually go to work to prove you right, and that's why you'll stay broke. So the unconscious mind is like a filter for you. It filters through all the things, that you choose to believe, and it brings them matches them up to your beliefs, because it matches it's like a criteria. It matches all the criteria of your beliefs. And if you believe you are going to build a successful business, then you're actually going to create massive income. You're going to create a team, and the unconscious mind will actually go to work in filtering all those things out to prove that that's true. It'll filter all the things that are not true and bring all the things that are, that what you think and what you say to make those true. So it'll bring people, it'll bring places, it'll even bring things into your world, into your life, to prove you wrong, that you are actually, you're actually right. So in bringing all those things to you, it allows you to listen in a way that so as you become congruent and consistent as to who you are, with what your beliefs are and what your values are. So let me give you a couple of examples, right? So there's two business people, and they're sitting at a dinner together, and one of them, they're both in sales, right? And one of them says, I'm a great closer, I love sales, and I love finding new prospects. And the other person, they don't. And they think that making sales is really hard. It's hard to find new prospects. People won't buy, and you have to get lucky to be able to, make a sale. And a few tables down from that table, right, you could overhear a conversation, and they're talking about something. They're talking about a problem that they have, and the product or service that these two people have is something that can actually solve the problem of what that person is saying, and they can hear it, that they need it really badly. And the person that actually has the belief of, I'm great at sales, I'm a great closer, I love finding new prospects, will actually hear that conversation because they're so switched on, they're so congruent with, you know, what their beliefs are, that they will bring in that opportunity and they will actually hear it. And they will hear it, you know, even if it's a few tables away, they'll attract that. Whereas the other person wouldn't have a clue. It'll just go, you know, it'll be oblivious to them because they're so closed off from actually bringing in those opportunities, because they have beliefs of around, you know, sales are hard, it's hard to find people, and you have to be lucky to find someone that will actually buy. So the thing is, the power of the mind is actually having the self-belief and having the right thought patterns and processes in order to be much more aware, consciously aware of any opportunities, people, places, and things around you, in order to bring that to your awareness. And this is what the unconscious mind does. It filters things out. So it filtered out the conversation and it said, okay, this is actually what this person, you know, what they believe. This is what their beliefs are. So I will bring this to their awareness. And that's when they actually hear it and they think, yeah, cool, this person might actually buy. So this comes from complete focus, clarity of your own self-beliefs, really getting super clear on what they are, because you will experience that which you are deeply convinced of in your life. So I get asked all the time, how can I make a shift in my beliefs? And the funny thing is that, you know, most people go through life hoping, and, you know, hoping is something that never happens. It's not something where, you know, hoping is not a winner's thing. It's like trying. It's not 100% conviction of, you know, that's what I believe. It's not a strategy for winning. It's a strategy for losing if you're someone that believes, you know, if you hope about something. So having the self-belief conquers and leaps over things is where you want to be. And having coming from a place where you are hoping or trying won't allow you to be able to have the self-confidence within yourself to know as if it's done. You have it done now. So never buy into the idea of having I'm not having a choice, right? Everyone has a choice. And I hear so many people say, oh, I've tried this business model, I've tried doing this, you know, I've tried, you know, my own business, and I've talked to 1 million people and nothing's happened. Like, seriously? Come on, like, really? 1 million people? Like, really? So people tend to think that they don't have a choice, and you do. You have a choice. So let's look at how many people, you know, they've actually talked to. So the difference between in business is you have to prove that it works. You have to prove that it works being a leader. And, you know, proving something is how business leaders win. You know, and don't get me wrong, if, you know, if you make 5, 10 or 15 people call a pool of people, you're going to have to test and measure the system. It takes, you know, hundreds of people to, you know, test and measure your business system. So, you know, like, so it requires like a large amount of, you know, sample size to prove that the business worth. So, you know, there is a choice. You've just got to have a strategy to know how to actually execute that in being able to create success. So don't try it out just once and thinking that if you call 5, 10, 15, you know, 20, even 100 people, that, you know, you that's the results, that's the end result of your business. You have to keep going. You have to have the self-belief in you that, you know, that you can do it. So I believe that you need the right contacts and a large enough pool of people to call, you know, with the right resources to win. And a large enough sample size, you can run the risk of winning, rather than, you know, a smaller sample size. You actually have a higher risk of losing. So comparing, you know, 100 people to 1,000 people that you may have called, you would have much more results calling 1,000 people than what you would maybe 100 people. And this all comes down to having the right values and beliefs in your business. So you have to have the knowledge and the tools to be able to create a really solid action plan. And by doing this will allow you to gain exposure. And by gaining exposure, this will allow you to win. So if you're afraid of getting exposure, then you are setting yourself up to lose. So getting exposure will cause you to win. So packing your day with appointments, meetings, or calls, whatever it might be, will give you a higher probability to actually win for the day, because you've created massive exposure and it's compounded over time. So if you've got, say, 8 sales calls each day, and you've made 40 sales calls, Monday to working week, Monday to Friday, and you haven't made any sales, and you are like, no, I give up. This is just not working for me. If you actually continuously do that over a period of months, more than likely from the first week with the follow-up, you will actually gain a sale, because it's compounded winning. It's compounded exposure. You're constantly in their face. You're constantly checking in, whatever it might be. This is why larger amount of people being exposed to actually matters in business. So keep going, get visible. So if you're caught up in the rejection of what other people might think, this will cause you to hit only a small pool size of numbers, a small pool of people. So if you're afraid of getting out there, really talking to people, getting on the phones, you may not hit 40 in 1 week. You may only hit 20 because you're holding yourself back because you're worried about what other people might think, or, the rejection. So if you believe that you are great and you stand out in your business, you must go out and get exposure quickly. If you believe that you have the self-belief to do it, if you believe that you can achieve whatever you're wanting to achieve, go out and get exposure really quickly, because by the end of 1 month, you will love it. I do this sales boot camp with my clients if they hate sales, and I get them to do cold calling for 1 week, and they hate it. They hate me during that week. Sometimes they refuse to do it, so I know where they stand in terms of what they want to achieve within their business. And this is to condition themselves with the no, condition themselves with the rejection, and to eventually love it and to be immune to it by the end of 1 week. So it's important to be able to gain that exposure really quickly, because by the end of 1 month, you will actually love it. You'll thrive on it, and you will know that you'll actually create the self-belief of what you're doing is out of goodwill and out of, the goodness of your heart. There's a bigger why to it, rather than, just going and making money. So all successful entrepreneurs have done this. Even all my clients that I've put through have done this as well. When you do it in the beginning, you're going to get hated on. You're going to get ridiculed. You're going to get laughed at. And, I've experienced the same thing. And I was told by my family when I first started out that I needed to go and get a real job. I was ridiculed and I was hated on because of it. So, and I'm telling you this is just forget it. Just forget it, because even when you are successful, people will do exactly the same thing no matter where you are. And it might be just different kinds of people. And social media is a place where we commonly see that as well. So those who talk about you are simply jealous of what they don't have. It's as simple as that. And it's like the crab metaphor, the crab in the bucket metaphor. So when people start to see you making it, and you're pushing out of the social norm and the comfort zones of other people that you spend the most time with, unconsciously what they will do, I'm telling you, unconsciously, they will try to pull you down so you don't leave the bucket. They will try to keep you down into that comfort zone so they won't feel uncomfortable with you, moving out of your comfort zone, because it makes them uncomfortable. So they will pull you down in the bucket. And unless you have the conscious awareness of your own self-beliefs and values, only then you have the resilience of pushing through and continuing to pave your own path away from them. So by doing this, you need persistence in hitting the large numbers, and by hitting the large numbers, it will pay off. So take daily massive action. Take daily massive action and have persistence in your action, and that'll equal to continual progress. So remember, right? So remember, no problem is permanent as long as you are taking massive action towards the solution. And, here is something that I believe, and it really resonates with me. And, you can take it or dump it. It's really up to you. Any problem that comes up, there's always 3 solutions, no matter what. Always 3 solutions. And sometimes when you have a problem, you may feel like that there is no way out at all because you're so in the problem. And for every problem, there's always 3 options. And when you're going through the problem, simply write it down. Write down 3 solutions. And I actually like to do this in a list of 20. And then you write down as many solutions as you can, right? And then pick 3 out of those 3, and they will be your 3 solutions, your 3 options in being able to experience, for you to be able to experience whatever it is you need to experience that is right for you. So during these times of feelings, where you've got this problem, it can be the most powerful feeling where you can have is the most powerful feeling that you can have is actually gratitude. And gratitude is the antidote of all fears. So if you're in a place where you feel as though there is no option, there is no way out, there is no answer, there's no solution, come back to gratitude. Ask yourself, what am I grateful for about this situation right now? What am I grateful for about this situation right now? What am I grateful for in my life right now? And take a moment in time and really think about that, and allow yourself to come up with 3 solutions for that problem. And by taking that moment and really setting back in gratitude actually takes out the stress and the fear, by you simply asking yourself, what are you grateful for in this present moment? It's so powerful. So if you are playing the role of the victim, I'm asking you, just drop this. Just drop it. Success is the inner game, not the outer game. Like 90% is about how we think, and 10% is actually, what we do, how we do it as well. So in business and even life, you can simply have a reason for what you're doing is by what your thought process, what your thought patterns are, and how you're doing it. And by doing what you're doing is the result of what you're actually thinking. And and sometimes you've got to sift through that heap of muck to get rid of all the junk in the trunk in a way for you to find that nugget of gold in there, for you to be able to find the results, achieve the results that you're wanting to achieve, because everyone has that golden nugget. Sometimes we've just got too much muck that we need to actually sift through. So there's no waiting to win, no getting around cutting corners. There's no excuses for success. There's no excuses for success. And in the success code, no one accepts, no one tolerates excuses. Having the mindset that you don't tolerate excuses is the ultimate ingredient to success, because you don't tolerate it. Once you make room for excuses or even failing, you actually permit its existence, right? So you permit whatever it is you're excusing, that it may be that you don't have enough time, or the kids aren't allowing me to do XYZ, or I don't have the finances. Whatever excuses might be, you're actually permitting its existence. And there is a reason why failing happens, is because we have excuses. When you have excuses, it just means you tolerate it. So there are no excuses. There is no waiting. So do you want to win or not, right? So let me give you an example. So one person is planning and preparing to do something, and the other is willing to just throw themselves in getting it. It could be a project, let's say. So let me tell you this. The person who wins the most of the time is the person who doesn't wait. They just go full in. They'll figure it out later. They just get in there and get it done. So most people worry about what that causes them to wait around. So I've seen this a lot where I've had people coming from a corporate 9 to 5 and they're wanting to start their own business, and they're waiting for the right moment to actually transition, or the right moment to start the business. And the most horrible thing is that they're actually worried. They're worried about what it might do, how much time it might take, worried about them, how they would perform, whatever it might be. And worry is that it makes your life an event, and it actually hasn't even happened. So when you worry about something, you're actually worrying about something that it doesn't exist. And you're creating a story within your own mind that's preventing you from actually taking action on something that hasn't even happened yet. So you continuously living through this event in your mind over and over again, as if this event has happened. In fact, it hasn't even happened yet. And most of the time you're worried about events that won't have, or are not as bad as what they are, or what you make it out to be. And you just get stuck in this yo-yo of living in this emotional overdrive over and over again. And, this is a place of you actually rejecting yourself. It's a place of you actually rejecting yourself. So this goes back to your own self-belief and self-worth and your beliefs as well. So the most successful people, CEOs and business leaders, they're their own biggest fans. They're their own biggest fans because they're their own competition. Successful leaders have embedded, this belief where they deserve to win. They are worthy of success. So you only get out of life what you believe you deserve, right? And when, the condition of your mind is taking massive daily action, you start to strengthen that belief. And you start to bring in that certainty, and you believe that you can do it. You believe that you deserve it, and you believe that you are worthy. So your worth is actually, where you start really in terms of the execution of, your success. So it all comes back down to self-worth. So your life is like a movie, and what most people live is someone else's script. And you actually take on most people's beliefs between the ages of 0 to 7. And this is usually your parents, how they've parented you, or even, some circumstances that have happened to you, and they've shaped you for who you are today. And only as adults, then they actually play themselves out, those particular, the script, the beliefs, they start to play themselves out. And most people experience this in career, or have a life where their parents have wanted a life for them, so they've actually gone on and lived a life that's actually not theirs. So by really understanding and knowing exactly who you are and who you want to be, and knowing which beliefs and values you must shift in order to shift your identity, especially as a leader. That is the key. Really getting clear on who you are and who you want to be, in knowing which values and beliefs you need to shift. So you can rewrite your script at any time, at any moment you choose. And as a leader, as the lead actor in your movie, you get to choose. You get to choose whether you are going to be the leader or the goat in your movie. And I tell you, I would much prefer being the leader in the actual script. But most people are still living a life where they're living a life of someone else's expectations, and they're the goat, unfortunately. And you only have the power to change it. You only have the power to change it once you're in control of everything else in your life. When you're in control of people, places, and things, things start to fall into place. So when you're in control of your emotions and your thought patterns and who you are and who you want to be, you will start to bring in all the resources that you need within your life in order to achieve the success that you want. And most people live that script, worrying about what everyone else thinks. And in fact, majority of the people in that script aren't even the main cast. You're the main cast in your script, right? So at this point, my parents were the main characters in my life. at one point. And I had to really unpack and really shed all those limiting beliefs and decisions that were really creating all these redundant strategies from a really young age. And I had to be consciously aware how to really pull those apart in being able to reprogram that and create much more empowering beliefs, because going through life in a period of time and trying to build a business where I had all these redundant strategies and beliefs and patterns and so forth was actually quite disempowering. It creates small thinking, and it keeps you safe, and it keeps you in certainty. And that's not what leaders have in their success code. That's not what's in your success code. So know your standards and raise your standards so that you never settle for anything less, and you are always aiming for the top of the game. And this goes for even, with family as well. Always remember that they do love you, but they always don't know, they don't have the best for you. They do love you, but, they're not always there for you to have the best for you. This is why we have mentors, we have coaches, we have a network of people that actually are aligned to your standards and your beliefs and values. By keeping your standards high, you will always expect lower standards from other people if you do come in contact, especially in a team environment. And the people will perform less than you, and that'll be okay. And it's actually and if you do allow yourself to go to a standard where it's on the same level, where your standards are below your actual potential standards, you start to become dependent on other people. You start to become dependent on people in your business and your success, and this will lead you to depending on them in achieving the results. And this leads to actually not really achieving anything. It creates a losing, results. So depend on yourself and depend on your own standards. There's no one here that will actually be able to really set your standards in what you want out of your life except for yourself, except for you, right? If you believe you are constantly struggling through things, for example, if you hear people say, another day, another dollar, or I'm hitting the daily grind, or I'm pushing through, your mind will constantly attract struggles and battles in your life. And all your life will be about, it'll be about you overcoming things and trying to get over obstacles. And, that's not what life's about. But if you're constantly telling yourself this is what you'll actually bring into your life, that it's hard, another day, another dollar is a really common one that I hear all the time. So a success mindset believes life is about growing, learning, achievement, progress, and even winning. And, things about happening for you, not to you. Remember that. So the first thing you need to do in order to do that is to set a goal. Set a goal that is measurable, that it's specific. So instead of saying, I want to be rich, or I want to have a team, be specific. Be specific as to how much, when you're wanting to achieve it. And, your mind can't go to work without things being specific. You need to have something that it actually is tangible, it can work towards, which is really important. And I use this technique called in SMART goals when I set goals for my clients, and, even in an organization, to have a common ground to move towards. Because if everyone isn't moving towards something, or if you're not moving towards something that is clear, you're not really moving in a way that's specific. So if you can imagine, like, your GPS, you have to actually put in a specific location as to where you want to go, where you want to be. There's specific coordinates for that particular location. It's the same thing. That's your destination as to where you want to get to. So in order to be able to achieve that, you need to be as specific as possible as to when, how much, and make it measurable. And you have to believe you deserve it. You have to believe that you deserve it, and the feeling of being complete conviction of deserving that particular, thing or goal, whatever it might be. So There has to be congruency internally and also what you believe you deserve on the outside as well. So complete conviction. And I believe that, reading your goals out loud is actually really, really important, because it reinforces the picture that you're creating within your own mind. And even writing them, as well, because writing them is a way that it pulls you out, out of the unconscious mind and brings it into the now. So picture it as if you have it now, right? Picture your goal as if you have it now, to allow your unconscious mind to go to work in bringing it into fruition. And if you picture it as if you have it now, it's as if you've already done it, as if you have already achieved it. And you're always thinking about what's next after that goal, rather than just thinking what are the steps to get towards that particular point. So think about it as if you've already got it. If you want to have a team of, however many people to be able to outsource whatever tasks, as if you have it now. Know what it feels like, know what it looks like, what kind of results are actually being achieved by having that particular goal. Really understand what it is to have it as if it has it now. And by doing this, you have to have reasons for your goals. Without reasons, you're heading nowhere. It's empty. And there's no, you got to push towards your goal, and you don't want to be pulling, so you don't want to be pushing away something that's not, that's negative. You want to be moving towards something that's more positive in a way, in terms of what are the reasons for you to be able to, what will it allow you to be able to have this goal. So there has to have a deep emotional connection to your goal that is inspiring you to push towards. It must be reasons that, that gets you up every morning. If you aren't getting up every morning because of something that has, your goals, then go back and dig deeper as to what is the real reason for you wanting to achieve this. What is the real reason for me having this? And, for example, it might be, that you want a particular car. But the real reason might be is because you want to be able to, drive your kids to XYZ, or you want to be able to feel happy by knowing that you have this particular, your dream car. It could be, a trip overseas. That could be a goal, but the ultimate goal might be that you're actually spending quality time with your family. The goal might be is that you're actually having time for yourself. Whatever it might be, what are your reasons for you that gets you up out of bed every morning? And now these reasons are to do with people and emotions most of the time. So if you are a parent, let's say, and your goal is to make X amount of dollars, what is the real reason? Is it because you're wanting to leave a legacy for your children so they have a life that, that you've created? What is the real reason? So it's usually people and emotions. And reasons are the drivers, and they're not the discipline. The reasons are usually what causes you to, to create your habits. It's not the discipline. The discipline is just the actions that you take regularly. But sometimes if you don't have a strong enough reason, you will start to slip up and you'll fall into your default mode. So the next one is have a plan as to how you're going to achieve your goals. How you're going to achieve your goals. And I like to do this in a 30-day plan. So think about how you're going to achieve your goals in a 30 days, and do these in 30-day chunks. And then, chunk it up. Chunk it up. So over 30 days, you do it. How you're going to achieve that in a quarter, every quarter, and then over a year, if it's, a yearly goal or a 5-year goal, whatever it might be. And then what you do from there is you review it every single day. This is why you read your goals aloud every day. You write them down every day and you review it. Because if there's some sort of shift in your reasons, or you feel like they're not strong enough, it allows you to go back and reassess and realign them to be able to, for them to be congruent and powerful. So you are actually getting up every morning because of these particular goals. So goals are not promises; they are commitments to yourself. Remember that. They're not promises, they're goals. So by you deciding the minute that you make this commitment, you do this by actually taking action. You do this by taking action straight away. And for example, in sales, if you wanted to make X amount of dollars in your commission, let's say, or in sales, once you set that goal, you go out and you make sales calls. You go out and book sales meetings. By you taking action, as soon as you set that goal, it already tells the unconscious mind that you are ready to bring in those resources in order to achieve this goal. So when you make a decision, in order for you to be able to be successful, you need to ask yourself why, and also have a really detailed plan. So the 30-day plan, as I explained. So let me tell you this, right? Take a note. You can't sustain a goal in your mind that is not consistent to your beliefs and values about yourself. So when you get a goal, you need to go out and work on yourself and your beliefs so that you can actually do it. There needs to be congruency. So that is, you have to believe it, and you have to have someone to be able to be accountable for. And this is great in terms of, masterminds, another coach, a mentor, or even someone that you see that has greatness within your network, to just keep yourself accountable and to keep you on track and getting clear on what you want before you even go and get it. So they'll be able to really, understand where you're heading and what you're doing and what you're wanting to achieve. And if where you're going, is it really what you're saying, what you believe? So having someone to keep yourself accountable, but also being congruent, both, within your own mind and also with your actions. So once you get clear, and you start finding, you'll bring in more and more resources that'll start coming your way. That'll be, people, places, and things, which will bring opportunities of resources to you, for you to be able to progress, to learn, progress, and essentially grow. So let's say, for example, a sales team. Everyone has access to all the resources in a sales team. But why is that some of those people actually win and some of them lose? So it's quite interesting, because we all have the same access to the same resources, but people achieve the different results. And you're not what you have, you are who you are. So if you have a whole heap of leads, and you've all got the same amount of leads that you need to call, but only some of them actually win and some of them actually lose, it's all to do with who you are and what's going on in your own mind. So the next thing is how to make goals work is with affirmations. And what this does, it actually creates repeatable imagery in motion. And by simply using I am statements, like I am a powerhouse coach, I am a sales person, I am a successful leader, I am greatness. So come up with your own that really resonate with you. I have these things called I am cards that I use quite regularly, and I also send these out to my clients because sometimes they need a daily reminder. But I do encourage you to come up with your own in really finding something that really resonates with your goal for you to be able to say to yourself daily. Because when things get tough, you're able to come back and be in a state where you know your worth, you know what you can do, you know what you can achieve, and there's no way in shifting that into a place of disempowerment. So this is why also rituals are so powerful. Rituals are really powerful. They are like habits. They're the drivers of your life and of the unconscious mind. And you really are what you do. So your rituals are really important, because no matter what you think or say or do, you simply, your thinking is simply the results of how you act, and how you act is what produces the results in what you create. So actions are repeatable, and the repeatable is that you need to do it every single day. So consistency is key. When I speak to, new business leaders and they're afraid of getting out there and getting visible, especially doing things like video or Facebook Lives or whatever it might be, I just say to them, the same thing as the 7-day sales boot camp is, you just got to get out there and just do it continuously and get better and better and better, because the more action you take, the more committed you are, the commitment that you make to yourself, the greater success that you'll actually have, that sets you apart from everyone else that's doing the other stuff of not being so consistent and, having no rituals that are actually progressing you to be able to achieve your greatness. So taking consistent action every day is what produces the results, not just by simply thinking, okay? So there was a study that I actually came across, and it stated that 40% of our actions performed daily aren't actual decisions, but they're habits of the unconscious mind. And think about what you do for your daily routine. So 40% of our actions are unconscious. So when you get up, when you might go make a cup of coffee, you might go brush your teeth, whatever it might be, how many of those particular actions are you conscious about what you're doing? So you know that, okay, getting my toothbrush now, putting my toothpaste on, putting it to my teeth, how many of those actions are actually unconscious? It's 40% of most people that their actions are really unconscious of what they do in their daily routine. This is quite interesting. And also think about what you do when you go to the office, when you get into the office. Are you, are you someone that when you get in there, you will sit down, you will make 20 sales calls, and then you will, you'll go and do some other work? Or are you someone that goes in there, you'll go grab a cup of coffee, you'll go speak to someone, and then you might sit down and make some sales calls? There's a different, the different rituals that you have is actually the results that you'll achieve. So if you change your rituals and your habits, you actually change the results that you get. So you actually take control of your habits. And by taking control of your habits, you'll actually find that you'll be able to operate at a greater capacity. Not just with productivity, but also with how you interact with other people as well. So when you decide to have complete focus, this causes you to have great self-belief in shifting your identity. So there's 3 questions you should ask yourself in doing this, right? Have you ever seen a person make a lot of money and then lose it? So have you, like I have, and have you ever seen someone make heaps of sales and then, they have nothing? They don't make any sales. And then have you seen someone that builds a team and then you see it then shrink again? This is quite common, and this is because there hasn't been a shift in their identity, in their values and their beliefs. And this goes back to, congruency with your thoughts and also with your actions. And you can try to convince yourself, right? You can try to convince yourself until you shift your identity, it becomes congruent with your why and why you're doing this. What's your bigger why? You will always default back into your default mode of your mind. Will take you back into what your actual self-worth is. If you believe that you're only worth 50% or half of what you actually make, then you will actually do that. This is quite common when people make a heap of money and then they lose it, they have nothing. This goes back to, your values and beliefs around, wealth and finances and money and so forth. It's because they retract it. They don't know what to do with it. So I talked about how to shift your identity as for a successful leader in one of my previous podcasts, as I mentioned earlier, and how to change it. But to recap, what it's about is, associations determine your influence on your results. So really be aware of who you associate yourself with, and what kind of people are actually influencing your particular world at this present moment, which ultimately influences the results. And take massive action for a short period of time to create momentum, and this actually supersedes your default habits, your default mode. And when you do this for a long enough period of time, you're actually creating a new habit which takes over that other habit, and then you're setting yourself up for success, which ultimately increases your greatness. So I want you to ask yourself these questions. And by asking yourself these questions, it allows you to take control of your thoughts. And the questions that I'm just about to go through, ask yourself these in the morning, because the way you start and end your day is the way you actually affects the results that you achieve in the middle of the day. So the first one is asking yourself these questions, it actually brings you back to being grounded and focused, and being much more appreciative of who you are and where you want to go. So the first one is, what am I happy about in my life right now? What about makes me happy? How does that make me feel? Number 2, what am I excited about in my life right now? What about that makes me excited? And how does that make me excited? Number 3, what am I proud about in my life right now? What about that makes me proud? How does this make me feel? Number 4, what am I grateful about in my life right now? What about that makes me grateful? How does that make me feel? What am I enjoying about in my life right now? What about that do I enjoy? How does that make me feel? Number 6, what am I committed to in my life right now? What about that makes me committed? How does that make me feel? And last one, number 7, what do I love and who loves me? What about that makes me loving? How does that make me feel? So these are really powerful questions, because most people actually start their day in either panic, worry, or anxiety thinking about what they need to do, checking their schedule on their phone, where they need to be for the day, rather than simply, asking themselves these 7 questions before they actually put their feet on the floor, from the bed. And you can start your day by simply programming your mind by thinking, having winners thinking for success, really. And these questions will actually get you moving in a positive way even before you leave the bed. So it's quite simple. And at the end of the day, there's these 2 questions that I always ask myself. And they're really powerful. And it's simply, what did I do well? And what can I improve on? And this allows you to reassess what you actually did well, to celebrate it, to be grateful for it. And then what exactly can I improve on, for the next day? So you're constantly assessing what is great, what can there be improvements in for the next day. So you're always working towards your goal. So doing this allows your mind to shift from the beginning, even before when you go to bed, and you will notice the quality of your life will improve dramatically. And you'll find that you'll start doing things unconsciously, when you really, strengthen this habit, it'll start to become a natural habit. But it takes time. So I always recommend, 7 to 30 days to do this until it becomes natural. So take action. Lastly is take action. I cannot stress this enough. There's this great quote from Grant Cardone that I love, and he says, I didn't get rich thinking, I got rich doing, and the healing is in the doing. And I love that quote because it's so true. No matter how much inner work you do on yourself, you still have to take action in bringing it into fruition. So following through with action, daily consistent action, will set you apart from those who are doing things, here and there, not consistently. Even if you're not feeling it, there's moments where I don't feel it, but if you just show up every day and you take some amount of action, that will set you 10 steps forward to most people that when they're not feeling it, they're not doing it. And, you have to work out that everyone is in it to win, and everyone in it is in it for the success, and everyone has the potential to succeed, but it's all about consistency. It's all about taking daily action in moving towards your goals. So you attract who you are. So always move towards what it is that you want. And if you want to be a great leader in your business, then you have to be a great leader to attract people into your life, into your business that are seeking great leadership, that are seeking people like you. So you are who you attract who you are. So the more people you help, the more people you actually attract in your life. So the secret to winning is giving, right? The secret to winning is giving. So always give more than what you can in order to get more, to help more people. So, contribution and, living from a place with gratitude allows you to win, because you're always seeking out to contribute. You're always seeking out to be a great leader that can help others and serve others. So let me finish off by saying, you can change your emotions, you can change your life. So I hope this has helped you in any way. And be kind to yourself. Always be kind to yourself, because we always have one life in this life, and this one life is the only life that we can create our greatest life. So remember, be bold, be brave, have fun, and let's go shake up the ordinary to go make an impact in the universe.